Welcome to our webinar all about the practice of now from Sage. So I'm really quite excited about this because from Sage's point of view, we are very much focused on providing insights and strategy and awareness to the profession. And practice of now has been a series of research papers which Sage has delivered over a number of years. And ever since the post-COVID, it's been really interesting to see how the profession has evolved and also how our insights and our, let's say, future thought thinking has actually evolved over the years. So this year's practice of now is no different. It's all about bringing to life the awareness, the research, the understanding of today's profession and how accountants and bookkeepers are basically pushing the boundaries in terms of the use of technology, but also guiding their clients in terms of what really matters. And yes, it's not easy. We've got challenges in terms of legislation, leaps and bounds in terms of how technology is being used, as well as that thing called generative AI, but also in terms of how we're actually delivering extra value to our clients. So today is an international thing. So when we think about practice of now is understand the accounting profession globally. And my name's Chris Downing, and I'm the Director of Accounts and Bookkeepers at Sage. And prior to joining Sage 6 years ago, I was an accountant by trade for 20 years and part of a mid-sized firm. And therefore, what I really enjoy my role is all about bringing, let's say, the ideas, best practice, strategy, and also how technology can help and improve our profession. Now, I'm not delivering this webinar alone, and I bring the expertise of David here as well. So David, I'm not going to do you a disservice in terms of explaining your history. Could you give the attendees a bit of past history and who you are, please?
Well, thank you very much, Chris, and it's great doing this with you and great being international. I guess we're on both sides of the Atlantic, you coming from the UK and me coming from North America. My name is Dave Bergstein. I'm a CPA, CITP, CGMA, and if you happen to be in the state of Florida, I'm a notary public, which means I can marry you because a notary can perform wedding ceremonies in Florida. I consider myself a digital evangelist for change. I've been in the profession over 45, 50 years. I'm working my way to retirement. I've been a partner in a 20-person firm, a partner in a 2-person firm, and a solo practitioner along the way. I've worked for a lot of software vendors and helping bring technology to CPA firms. So I'm here to help, and I think between Chris and myself, we'll give you an interesting talk. I've been in Accounting Today, Top 100 twice, and picked up a couple of other notary things along the line, but we're going to talk about the practice now. But just to make everyone familiar with this like green eye shade here, I have been practicing since the days of the pencil. But if you really want to get ahead, you should be listening to this session today, because we're going to talk about what's really going on in the profession from a standpoint of a global perspective. I'd like to take a peek at the practice next door. Sage has done this study, interviewed over 1,000 firms in basically 6 different countries. And actually, I've spoken in each of these countries except South Africa. I've spoken in Spain, I've spoken in France, UK, US, Canada. And I can tell you that accountants and bookkeepers in every country is going through the same thing. Would you agree with that, Chris? Everybody's trying to do it?
Yeah, very much so. And like you, it's not just speaking, but it's also researching, reading, and observing. And it's just fascinating when you look at the stories and the peer communities that exist, whether it's Facebook or other social media platforms, understanding, let's say, what accountants are going through, their challenges. And actually, the top of it all, they're all delving and trying to deliver the best client service. And also thinking about what technology to use, because there's so many new technologies coming through. It's all about thinking about what technology you should be using for your practice, but also more importantly, thinking about those key things, because as accounts bookkeepers, your business owners yourselves. So you're focused on your own profitability, your own efficiency, and also actually growing your practice and making sure you're retaining and hiring the right staff.
Now, the research really revealed the attitudes, ambitions, and solutions that you can use now to unlock your potential in the future. It's kind of amazing. Over 1,000 people they spoke to, 1 to 20 employees represented 50% of the mix. 21 to 100 employees represented 30% of the mix, and 101 to 1,000 represented 20% of the mix. It's kind of interesting because I did some research. There are approximately 28,528 accounting service businesses in Canada as of the end of 2023. And based on the data by the Bank of Canada, 86.3% of those accounting service businesses, accounting service could be bookkeeping, are micro or micro businesses, which the bulk, which is 50% here, of these businesses are 1 to 4 or 5 to 20. So this research is really right on point for the types of firms that were out there when you look at it. So let's take a look at the results and see what's happening. And what it's saying is, like almost every industry, accounting and bookkeeping roles are changing. The main factors driving this shifting: tax laws, heightened client expectations, and fast-moving tech. When we look at it, 96% say their work has significantly shifted in the past 5 years. I'll say my work has shifted. It's gone from compliance to advisory, but we still have to do the compliance work. Compliance work doesn't go away. But what happens with compliance work is it's getting automated, and you have to utilize those tools to automate it. 80% of the people that were spoken to were worried about the future of their roles. You know, what's going to happen? 86% feel burnt out. Actually, I was in a conference in Napa Valley, California, 3 weeks ago. And they brought in a psychologist to talk to the accountants and bookkeepers to say, hey, life, work, you have to balance them. Don't go crazy. And the same thing I see happening with this survey all over the world. A large majority of people saying, hey, what am I going to do next? Change is here. And really, that's the key to moving forward. We have to change in what we're doing. And when they did a temperature check with this research to address the concerns, many are working harder and experience more stress. Do you see that, Chris?
Yeah, very much so. And I think this comes down to the fact that every region, COVID was a very important turning point, because depending on which location or nation which you're operating from, governments actually implemented different measures. But what it did mean is small business owners called upon the fourth emergency service, and that was the accountant and bookkeeper, to give them guidance in terms of the measures available, guiding them in terms of cash flow, but also thinking about how they grow their businesses out of those challenges. And that conversation hasn't ended. If anything, that conversation has elevated. And as you say, it's a fact that what we've probably spent the last three years of our lives is actually making better use of our acumen, our craft, our knowledge, our wisdom, sharing that with business owners who are basically just craving more understanding of their finances. Yeah, and you say compliance isn't disappearing. If anything, compliance gets difficult or more challenging with all the new rules coming into play. So not only do we have, let's say, our technical head on, we also have our practical head on to actually guide our clients to, let's say, a more profitable future.
And it's all about staying in touch with our clients, as far as I'm concerned. The more touch points you have with your client, the more likely you are to keep your client. Actually, I had some results from a study prior to the Sage study, which, by the way, if you haven't downloaded, make sure you download it. The links are here. If you want to grow your practice, you have to do more than one service for your client. Boston Consulting Group in 2012, and it's still true today, said if your client is using one service from you, there's a 14% chance they'll stay with you. If they're using two services with you, there's a 63% chance they'll stay with you. And if they're doing 3 or more services with you, it's like a lifetime annuity, 91%. What does that mean? It means maybe do their payroll taxes, maybe do their income taxes, maybe do their accounting. I just mentioned 3 services right off the bat. So long hours can be reduced if you use technology. New technologies, though, while beneficial, introduce a learning curve that people find overwhelming. Like I said, I'm doing this 50 years. I'm a big believer in continuous learning. I think, Chris, you look like a younger person, but I'm sure you're into that continuous learning.
It is. Every day is a school day as far as I'm concerned. And I remember in practice, you're learning something new, whether it's about the technology, how to do an Excel formula better. But it's a case of actually always having that open-minded, that insightful, always that inquisitive nature. And I think that's what makes accounts and bookkeepers probably so valuable, because we are basically not just juggling the legislation and change, we're also juggling all those client conversations. And I think part of that overwhelm is based on the fact that we are becoming more automated, we are using technology better, we have possibly got more clients per account per professional than we did do beforehand, which means it's not the number of clients, it's the number of conversations and touch points we're having to manage. And also the fact that clients want things to be done more instantaneous and less likely to wait. We'll call it the Amazon culture, the availability of next day delivery. It's all those challenges of maintaining sort of client expectations.
I agree with you. It used to be next day delivery, used to be calling Federal Express or Priority and delivering it, and all of a sudden everything is through the portal now, which makes it a lot easier to do next day delivery and automate it. So as we do this temperature check and see people are concerned, I believe, and I believe the Sage study also says, the future is bright. And what do we mean by the future is bright? Change may be challenging, but it's rewarding. 96% are excited about the future. 97% are satisfied with their roles. You know, what it is accountants and bookkeepers recognize the opportunity, which is what Chris is saying, to spend more time doing what they love, providing better services to the clients, and driving profitability all around. You know, we're heading to a future where we won't be calling ourselves, and this is a little out of context, accountants and bookkeepers, we'll be calling ourselves strategic business advisors. Accounting is really the lost leader as we move forward. Every business needs accounting, so there'll always be accounting, but what's going to separate the future for us as bright accountants is the fact that we're going to be proactive in helping our clients while still delivering the compliance work. So if we want to provide better service and more value, more profitability, we have to think forward. So, you know, as we think forward, what I really want to do is switch the slide and think about what the accountant and the bookkeeper of the future has to do. They have to take action. They have to embrace change. And they have to do more of what they want to do rather than being forced to do things they don't want to do. 44% from the Sage survey said they want to spend time doing strategy to grow their practice. 44% said implementing new technology and systems, artificial machine training and cloud-based automation is what they need to do. And 42% said they want to be managing and engaging more clients. So if this sounds like something you want to do, you got to be proactive and start to do it. You agree with that, Chris? You're on mute. So even though Chris is agreeing with us, we really can't hear him agreeing with us. So I'm going to keep talking until I can hear.
Brilliant. It flipped over. And I think this comes out to accountants and bookkeepers, we're business owners ourselves. And it's a case of we're servicing our clients, but also thinking about our own business. Where do we want to be in 3 or 4 years' time, or even 15 years' time? And therefore, what is our exit strategy? What's our growth strategy? And that is all around having a secure client base, which is our asset. Also, in terms of actually how we're going to be creating profit to basically pay for the mortgage or take children to college, etc. This all goes down to the things of actually managing client expectations, also our own personal aspirations. And this is what we're seeing. You need to be focused in terms of actually how do you grow your practice, whether that's by client numbers, whether it's by staff, or the bottom line. But the key thing is actually what are you trying to deliver as your key goals as a business owner yourself.
I totally agree. And, you know, there's a book that was out called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. It says we as accountants or people in general should be working on the business instead of in the business. So that's where, you know, when we look at the accountant and bookkeeper in the future, strategizing, implementing new technology, and engaging more time with the clients is really what we should be doing. So when we look at the 3 opportunities to go from good to great, that sounds like another book by somebody called Jim Collins. What we have to do is adapt our roles and practices and focus on 3 key things came from this survey: growing skills and attributes, leveraging AI and automation, and building client relationships. And Chris and I will go into more depth in each of the next slides, but if we want to grow our practices, this is it. Growing skills and attributes, leveraging AI, building client relationships, working more closely with the clients. It's all about the human service, you know, whether it's face-to-face or Zoom or Teams meetings. We got to really be in touch with our clients. So I think we'll look at each one of these things in detail moving forward. So let's take a look at the first area, growing skills and attributes. 56% worry that they don't have the right skills to succeed in the industry in the future. 7 out of 10 are worried about the need to improve their skills surrounding technologies in particular. I myself, I have to do 80 credits every 2 years to maintain my CPA license in my jurisdiction. I probably have this year, for the 2-year period, 120 or 130, because I'm growing my skills by taking courses that I need to take rather than courses that I'm required to take. I'm required to take ethics, I'm required to take accounting, but I'm taking data analytics. I'm taking AI tools, how to work with generative AI, how to work with ChatGPT or Copilot or Claude, whatever the case may be. So when we look at critical attributes and skills to focus on, what we came up with is 74% want to be more reliable. 72% want to get better at problem solving. 71% strategic thinking. I think these 3 skills, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, these are the soft skills that we have.
That's what I'm saying. It's the soft skills which we're trying to elevate, isn't it? And soft skills aren't something which you necessarily read from a book or watch from a webinar. It's something which you practice over time or actually observe. And this is one of the key things in terms of as practitioners, how we grow those skills. We've either been mentored or we worked in a practice where there was a really great senior manager or a partner which we were able to shadow, and we learned how they actually manage their clients. And I think this is one of the things we need to actually think about, is actually how do we nurture those skills in an environment where more people are working from home possibly. And this is why people are seeking these soft skills, because maybe they're not getting that experience which they wish to do so back in the good old days.
And I think that's part of the reason why work from home is good to one aspect, but you got to get into the office and you have to exchange ideas face to face once in a while. I'm not a big believer in working from the office. I've worked remotely for the last 25 years, but I've always interacted in an office setting because that helps improve the soft skills. And when we look at these critical attributes and skills, there are also some technical skills. 70% say they need to improve their operational skills. 71% technical proficiency in financial reporting. That gets down to the hard skills end of it. So growing your skills and attributes is something every day, change. That's the culture of the world. Every day there's something new going on. So every day you should be involved in trying to learn something. And I believe in that. Chris, I know you totally agree with that.
Completely. I think at the end of the day, the financial technical skills are really important. At the end of the day, a lot of our clients, all they see is the tax return, the submission, and that's what they rally, that's their fee based upon. But also, it's a case of we are always very proud of what we do, and also we're risk adverse. We want to make sure things are done correctly, and therefore ensuring that we actually really understand the detail, and those details are changing. The governments do like to sort of tweak the rules. It's a case of making sure that what we do deliver is 100% correct. And this whole point, we're focused on accuracy, consistency, and also delivering, let's say, client expectations.
And while we're delivering that, and you mentioned the tax return, I think people have to start to realize they shouldn't be billing for the deliverable tax return. They should be probably value billing, and they should be subscription pricing, which means charge your client for a yearly service and make that tax return a deliverable, or make that financial statement a deliverable, where they're paying you on a monthly basis so they know what they're paying. They know the cash flow, you know the cash flow. And that's been a model that's been adopted heavily in the United States now, subscription pricing, where you're figuring out the value of the service and you're not charging them for the tax return or the financial statement. You're charging them for the overall advisory services or the relationship of you dealing with them. And you mentioned a number of times, face-to-face human interaction. The more interactions you have with the client, the better the client's going to stay with you. So growing skills and attributes is important, and it's going to be on an ongoing basis, and it's going to get faster and faster as technology changes. When we look at number two an area. I think this is continually going to change, leveraging AI and automation. AI and automation have been identified as the two key technologies to combat limited time and heavy workload. You know, I've been doing automation since the days of where you put a check on a piece of carbon piece of paper and you're writing the check and it's going into the accounts payable book at the same time. Accounting is a process. I teach college accounting. Accounting is a process of recording, sorting, and summarizing data to permit informed judgments. The recording, the sorting, the summarizing, that's what's being automated. That's where AI is coming into play and changing what people do. And you have to keep focusing on a strategic plan to how you're going to adopt AI over the next couple of years. You can't say, hey, this looks cool today. I'm going to switch software programs today because this is a hot thing. You got to look at the overall strategy of the software developer so that they can help you grow and you don't have to switch company to company. You pick someone that's going to help you grow because they're building out and they have a plan. So getting more time would allow you to spend more time strategically growing your practice. And I can read down the slide, but you can also. So leveraging AI and automation is key. I've been doing a couple of webinars and playing around with Chat GPT, Copilot. I'll see if Chris has been doing it too. But I started with Chat GPT when it first came out, and I'm using letters to my clients. It's a time saver. Copilot is built into Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. And I know Chris mentioned using Excel formulas. I had to do an amortization schedule. I forgot how to do it. So what I do, I ask Copilot to write me an amortization schedule for Excel, in Excel, and gave him the principal, the amount, the loan repayment, etc. I don't have to know how to do Excel anymore. AI is helping me do that. So leveraging AI and automation is something we have to do. I like to give this saying, you won't be replaced by AI, but you'll be replaced by someone who's using AI. So everyone who's attending this session today should be experimenting, utilizing either a Chat GPT, a Copilot, a Claude. I don't know, what are your thoughts on it? I use it to summarize emails now.
Yeah, and it's very much so. And I could talk for hours about this. I do presentations about how to use AI in your practice. And the key things, you need to have a strategy, because a strategy is not just about your practice, but your clients will be asking you about how to implement and use AI. So therefore, identifying the stakeholders, the purpose, is it a customer-facing tool? Is it something for efficiency? And also, more importantly, let's be boring. Let's put some policies in place, some documentation in terms of actually what are the rules in place and what data you're going to be sharing. ChatGPT is an amazing tool. However, would you put, let's say, client information on the internet or within Google? And that's the same thing with ChatGPT. So it's been very mindful about what client information you're using. Just don't. But also, this goes to extends in terms of where generative AI is going. So Microsoft Copilot, that AI generative assistant sat alongside Outlook and Word and Excel to make your lives easier in the tasks that you're performing. And this is where you'll be seeing new Copilots. And this is where I'm really proud of what Sage are doing with Sage Copilot, your generative AI assistant, which sits alongside your bookkeeping, your compliance, and your payroll, all about making your lives easier, reducing the time spent on those little tasks so you can spend more time with your clients. And this is the whole point of AI. AI has been around for ages. We're getting excited about generative AI, but it's the application which is key. And this is why you do need to invest time, but also go to attend webinars, attend face-to-face events, and share those stories of those practical applications. People are actually replicating themselves in ChatGPT. They're dumping all their webinars. David, I don't know about you. You can dump all your webinars in ChatGPT and almost replicate yourself with a knowledge base. But that's what you'll be able to do. Able to actually get all that knowledge and be able to basically get information and guidance from it in a way which is a more human interactive way, but very powerful.
No, and quantum computing is going to be hitting the market pretty soon, which is going to
scary.
Make things faster, quicker, and more protected. So you're going to see the face of audit change as we move forward. But as we look forward to leveraging AI and automation, adoption has started, but there is more value to be gained. And from the Sage survey, 89% say AI-powered tools and our machine learning would make a difference to their firms. And it does. You know, it's made a difference to me. When I get a new client now, I say, write me an engagement letter for a tax client, tell them what they need. And because I have it set up from doing it a couple of times, it's just getting more and more refined to make it easy for me to send letters to my clients. But only 39% say they're already doing it. If you walk away from one thing from this webinar, it's take action, be proactive. 74% expect to use AI-powered tools in the future. 89% say automating process to free up time and make a difference. 77% say more than half of their accounting and bookkeeping process are automated. When you think about it, if you're using Sage and you're using auto entry and you're using the tools, it's making your life a lot easier. But only 50% are automating time-intensive recurring tasks like payroll and financial reporting. Actually, payroll is one of the easiest things to automate to make your life easier and make it a revenue generator instead of an expense incur machine. Financial reporting, the future of financial reporting, and I'll have a debate with Chris another time on this, is do we really need financial statements, or are people going to use dashboards and relationships as they move forward? And it's kind of interesting. In the US, accounting firms are getting, and I know in Canada also, are getting private equity money. And what's happening is private equity is coming into these large firms, and actually it's working its way down, and the audit function's going to one side, and everything else, and this is what I love as a solo practitioner, everything else that's out of audit or the attest function is professional services. It's client accounting services. It's strategic advisory services. Everything, as a solo practitioner, I don't have to worry about doing audits, but I can do everything else. And if I don't have all the knowledge, I'm using resources such as Sage and Sage University and other things out there to give me the information to make me more knowledgeable. I don't have to be a wealth advisor. I can connect to a wealth advisor, but AI is letting me do all these things. It's letting me change what I do. I'm going to skip to the last category here, if that's all right with you, Chris, unless you have a comment on AI. I'm going to go to me, this is the big thing. Building client relationships. Goes back to the closer the relationship you have with someone, the more you're going to build a rapport and the more you're going to be able to raise your fees as long as you're delivering a service. Only 21% of accountants and bookkeepers would describe their current work as human or personal. What does it mean? It means they're just delivering things. They're not really talking to anybody and not explaining things. So yes, this is the type of work they want to do. 89% say having personal connections with clients and understanding their needs and challenges would enhance their roles. I have my best client, as I'm saying, I'm really getting rid of my practice, so to speak, but my best client, my best 3 clients, I probably speak to them every other week for 15 minutes or so, just asking them what's going on with their life, what's happening, even though I know from looking at the dashboard what's happening, what are they trying to accomplish? And this has been able to help me actually sell more services to them when they tell me what's on their mind and when I'm asking them what they're doing about their succession plan or growing their business or merging something else in. So building client relationships is key to growing your practice. Do you have any comments on that, Chris?
Yeah, very much so. I think the 21% is an interesting figure, but I think the reality is because of the client demands and the workload available, we're probably working too much towards deadlines, and therefore we do not have the capacity to actually take a step back and having those more strategic conversations. And this is the whole theme with round using the right technology, embracing change in how that technology can make our lives easier, removing as much those little tasks as possible. Because whether you love timesheets or not, if you did a time in motion survey of exactly what one did in a week, and actually broke it down in terms of managing spreadsheets, looking at lists of information, actually doing the compliance, you'll probably realize you're probably chasing an awful lot of communications and emails and not doing anything practical and tangible. And this is the whole point, is part going back to those soft skills which we were looking at beforehand. It's operational, it's reliability, it's managing workload, and then technology will just make life a little bit easier. And therefore having that capacity will naturally make those relationships better. And what we have seen in the UK is we've done some other deep dive research into AI, and therefore accountants and bookkeepers seeing the benefits of AI already, and the fact that they'll see opportunities of growing their practice, whether that's in terms of additional services or just having the capacity to take on more clients. So therefore those relationships are going to be even more important.
No, I believe it's the whole thing. When I look at it, and I know we've been through the three things here: continuous learning, AI and technology, building client relationships. If you really want to build your practice, these are the three things to do. And I like to say it another way. It's about marketing and positioning yourself as to who you are to your client, using technology, and then doing those advisory services, which is what's going to help you move your client forward by consulting with them. So, and again, just looking at the rest of these statistics in building client relationships, 85% wish they had more time connecting with clients. 85 wish they can do more advisory in their current role, because it gets them out of the paperwork and doing those emails across the board. So these are really three key areas. And if you want to grow your practice, and if that's one of the reasons you're on this webinar, you got to look at what the biggest opportunities for 2025 and on moving forward, what they are. So if we look at this, you got to close the gap. And I love this word here, close the gap between intent and action. This brings, it's the biggest opportunity. The change is happening. You got to intentionally be proactive. Agreements is all across the profession in terms of what we should be doing and what we should focus on. But if there's take away anything from us today, it should be that closing this gap are key to becoming the accountant or the bookkeeper of the future. And again, I don't like using the word accountant, bookkeeper, even though I'm an accountant, I'm a CPA. I want to call myself a strategic advisor to my client, but I do accounting. And if you look at what's happening in North America, US and Canada, a lot of the CPA firms are dropping CPA and calling themselves business consultants and advisors. So if I'm a bookkeeper, that puts me on par with an accountant in some cases, because I'm going to market my service, because I'm going to help my client, because I'm staying educated, I know what's going on, I'm using AI, and I'm building my client relationship. So your path to spending more time working with your clients and a better work-life balance is to actually take some action. And I think the next couple of slides will see where you can take those actions and how you can be helped. We're not going into really any product on this webinar. This webinar is all about, if you're attending this webinar, it tells me you're an entrepreneur. You want to learn how to grow your business. And you learn and use the tools. You learn AI. You build client relationships. But what do you have to do to move forward? What you really have to do is look at the gaps to close. By proactively working on the areas you know you need to focus on, you'll build momentum towards a better future. I like this slide. It took me a while to figure out this graph. I'm sure Chris has spent time looking at it. But the top gaps accountants and bookkeepers need to close: automating process, freeing up time. What does it mean by that? If I look and I move the cursor over here, and you can see the cursor, automating processes to free up time. And it says there's blue, 89% saying it would make a difference in their role. But from the 89%, only 37% are already doing it. That's why there's this 52% gap to close. So 89% say, hey, we should do it, but only 37% are actually doing it. So as you look at this from the survey, integrating AI-powered tools and machine learning, 50% gap between AI-powered tools and machine learning. So again, same principles here. You're looking at technology and you're looking at people say they want to use it, but there's a 52% gap between the people saying they want to do it and the people actually doing it. So I look at this chart, upskilling your team, 48 points, focusing on human personal connections. We're going through all those 3 areas, focusing on mental health and well-being. Put that, even though I think it's big and important, I hear it all the time, but the key to mental health and well-being is don't spend all your time working. Enjoy life a little bit. Spend time with your family. I don't understand the mental health, but I love being an accountant. I hate doing accounting, but I like doing advisory services, and I've automated the accounting to a great extent, the bookkeeping portion of it. So from a Sage perspective, Chris, you did this survey, what do you think about these gaps? People should choose a particular gap or what?
I think what this survey demonstrates is that nothing has really changed over the last 5 years. Is the fact that we all recognize what we need to do. We all recognize the benefits and certain themes will have on our practices, but it's that intent. It's the action of change. And this is because we are not carving out enough time to actually focus on our own businesses. And it's all a case of, when do you do it? Is that a Wednesday morning or a Friday afternoon? Focus on actually, let's say, changing something different in your practice. And it's not about changing everything. It's all about changing something and maybe just 1 or 2 things. And when you think about automation, a basic thing, ensuring that all your clients are using some sort of cloud piece of software, ensuring all your clients be able to get data into it efficiently. Sometimes you think that's a huge task. If you've got 100 clients or 200 clients, where do I start? The key thing is have a methodical plan, a 100-day plan, where you're going to attack something and work towards it, achieve it, and at least try and get 80 to 90% success from it, rather than just thinking, I will try my best. The next time I have a conversation with a client, I'll think about doing something. Make it a methodical plan. And if anything, as a profession, we are particularly good at change. When we have to flip and do something urgent, whether it's for a deadline or an amazing client piece of work, we can make things happen. So it's actually focusing yourself as the client, creating that change and identifying something you want to change, and do so by the month end, no matter what happens, headlines gets in the way.
I agree with the written plan, and then check it off that you've done it. You have the written plan with a deadline, with a time. Don't just write, I'm going to do this someday, by the end of the month, and check it off. 100%. I think pick 1 or 2 of these to move forward. So you got to close the gaps to move forward. And when we close the gaps and you plan your practice, what are your next steps? What should you do? Think of the ones you could both realistically accomplish, but pick a couple that are ambitious and long-term. Try to balance your choices across the 3 focus areas that we've concentrated on, because those 3 focus areas, every country that the survey was in, those are the same areas. Everybody's going through the same things. For any of you, pick out, make sure that they appear in a formal plan, as Chris is saying, and work it to next year. Review the diagram, consider what you're going to apply, try to balance the actions, and incorporate the plans into strategies. So as you map out your actions, and I love this, I'm going to talk a little bit about each, but then I'm going to pass it back to Chris to add the Sage perspective. If you're going to grow skills, you can upscale your team. Myself, sole practitioner, I basically have 2 part-time people. I'm upskilling them at the same time by signing up for a couple of webinars that they can go to build their skills. Stay up to date on evolving rules and regulations. I subscribe to a number of publications. You just have to do it because you have to stay up to date. Stay up to date with trends, focus on mental health, access industry studies, professional associations for resources. How does Sage University help people out with all of those? Does Sage University provide ways to grow skills and attributes, Chris?
Yeah, so very much so. And this is what I'm really proud of what Sage does. It's not just about the technology, it's about the support, the awareness, and more importantly, education. And I think education is so important, not just as you as an individual trying to expand your skills in terms of how to use the tools, but also those soft skills. And Sage University is been around for years, and it's renowned in terms of the quality of the work, the content, but also the guidance on how to do things better. And this is where it's a case of actually bringing all those technologies, all those soft skills in one place where you can actually grow your practice and also at your own pace. And as we test, life is busy. We've got challenges. Sometimes we're doing a job for a particular client, then we have to drop all that and go to something else. And even though we feel that we may carve out some time to actually take on a new course, be able to jump into it when you wish to do so online is incredibly easy, incredibly powerful and useful from Sage.
You know, I just signed up for Sage Advice. It's a newsletter, and one of the first ones I got was really helpful. 22 ways to use generative AI prompts, because the big thing with AI is how to prompt it, what question to ask.
Yeah.
And it gave me some useful tips. So I put it in my, I guess I'll call it my Outlook outbox that I look at all the time and see what prompts I could use. So that was very helpful. And then we got leveraging AI in mapping your actions, automate processes to free up time, integrate AI-powered tools, ensure you can leverage actionable insights from data, and stay educated. What does Sage for Accountants do in that manner? What is Sage for Accountants?
Well, Sage for Accountants is basically our approach to support every accountant and bookkeeper with the best technology they need to run their practice. Everything from client management, to bookkeeping, to auto entry, to compliance, as well as business advisory in terms of pretty pictures and graphs and charts, cash flow forecasting. But at the heart of it, we recognize that generative AI is the key to unlocking capacity. And this is what we're seeking: capacity to either grow our practices or capacity, as we said before, just spend some time with our family. And this is the key thing, is actually how do we weave, and which is what Sage is doing with Sage Copilot, generative AI in between all those services and all those solutions. So it's a one-stop vision and view of your own practice, but also how you interact with your clients. And as we said, remove those tasks, or actually you make those tasks easier so you can focus on the more valuable jobs of the practice.
No, I find, you know, we got it broken down. Biggest opportunities for 2025: grow your skills, leverage AI, build human relationships. And I think, can the participants here get a copy of the book, The Human Firm? Is there a link out there? And that's focusing on growth with new clients. I read a lot of books all the time on how to be a rainmaker, how to get new clients. It really comes down to interaction. You know, I got clients, I volunteered to give a speech to real estate agents, you know, tax tips that they should know about selling homes. And I gave a speech. What did I get from that? Clients. I volunteered for the Chamber of Commerce to give a talk on tax update. You get clients. So building human relationships, getting out in front of people, it's a way to do it. The Human Firm is a book that you're furnishing. Anyone can read it and help them grow their business.
I even have a few paragraphs in it myself. No, but The Human Firm is a great read because what it focuses on, in fact, yes, technology is all around us. Accountants are using technology to make their lives easier, but also it's those practical aspects of how to grow your practice and make yourself more efficient from the stories and the sentiment of accountants in practice. I think this is a great thing. It's not just a book about one person's view. It's a book with the views of many accountants showing their stories and what are they doing to actually interact with their clients and grow their practice. But at the heart of it, it's all about relationships with your clients, but also relationships with your colleagues and your staff. How do you bring them on board and make your staff the greatest advocates and the champions of your own practice to grow it in a way which you wish to do so?
I'm going to ask you for a copy with your autograph because you know, it could be worth money someday.
Probably somewhere here.
You know, so you know, when you map your actions, look at these three categories, figure out what you can work on, and then just as an overall filler as we move through with Sage for Accountants, and really I want to let Chris talk about this slide because it's strictly Sage for Accountants here. There's different tools that you have available that'll help practitioners, bookkeepers or accountants grow their practice. If you want to run through what we have out here, you know, win and onboard clients.
Well, the key thing is when you're running a practice, we want to make sure you've got the best tools to start your practice. because we find from our understanding and research is that most accounting practices, when they start off, they use that good old tool called Excel to run it. Client lists, jobs, tasks, where they are in the workflow. When actually what you want is a single client list where all the information is kept, or your jobs and tasks. We provide that tool available to everyone free of charge, because that's the key thing. But from that, it gives you the capabilities to grow your practice in a profitable and efficient manner. And when we think about the jobs to be done, the first job when you actually win a client is actually understand what service you're going to offer and what are they going to pay. So the ability to bring Go Proposal, which is the best proposal engine on the planet, that's why Sage acquired it, the ability to effectively price your services, allow the clients to decide and choose with you what they're going to be paying and how to pay it, and maximizing.
And we lost you again. You cut out again at maximizing, but we're having difficulties coming from the UK. There must be a soccer game going on, but I'll pitch in until Chris can speak again. But and they've taken me through this. Go Proposal by Sage. I love having integrated tools within the Sage for Accountants community, and Sage for Accountants is really the umbrella term for where you can pick and choose all these tools. You want to effortlessly manage clients in one place. Look at the client management tool that's put out there by Sage. Get clients to keep digital records, and this is my big thing. I'm a big believer from transaction to general ledger without picking up a pencil. Auto entry by Sage is just one of those tools that eliminates the need to do anything other than setting up and this is where you can get advisory services by setting up your client, where they're using an iPad or something else to do the transaction and auto entry and capture the transaction, that it goes from that transaction, waitress, waiter, into the accounting system. Get your clients to keep digital records. It's the only way to go. And I remember when many years ago, people said, I'm not letting my data out of the office. You can't function today if you're not connected somehow to the internet anywhere along the line. Get work done efficiently and accurately for your clients. Sage Business Cloud Accounting and Payroll. And again, there are different levels of software. I'm a big believer from a Sage intact in the world from a US standpoint. You all have different choices based on countries and different needs. But if you can automate your accounting system and you can grow and expand from starting off simple and working your way up, you're going to build your client relationship, and you're also going to make it easier for you to maximize your profit and make your client more efficient and grow the value of your clients with advisory services. And you're looking at Fruitly by Sage is another tool out there. I don't know if you're back, Chris.
Can you hear me now?
You're good.
Brilliant. And really, I think the other approach to this is that we recognize as a practice, you may be using different ledgers. And this is the whole point of having an agnostic approach. So auto entry will work with all the bookkeeping solutions out there, as well as Futurely, which is our management reporting, budgeting, and cash flow tool. So when you think of having a client conversation, bringing those numbers to life with pretty pictures is incredibly powerful with dashboards. Again, that interacts with all the major suppliers. So the whole point is Sage is delivering great tools from Sage, but also enable you to work alongside the tools you already have. And really, the other key thing is generative AI is what we need to leverage. Generative AI can only be leveraged if we're more digitized from that end-to-end routine and ensuring our clients using a digital ledger.
Important point to note that generative AI is still in its introductory stage, and it's going to get better and more accurate as it goes on. We've had predictive AI for a while, and then we're going to see something new with more AI. And I'm a big believer. Right now, we're at the narrow and weak part of AI, and AI is doing a lot for us. As it gets more and more sophisticated, it's going to change our lives. So, as we look at what's up here, you can sign up for Sage for Accountants, join Essentials. I think it's for free. All they got to do is scan the barcode out there or use the URL you put out there. Comments on that?
Yeah, so this whole point is Sage for Accountants, as I said, is a free platform for you to manage your practice upon. And therefore, it's a case of no commitment, but also all the joy and the magic comes from it. And therefore, it's a case of, yeah, either use your phone, not your Nokia 3310. Life has moved on, hasn't it, since then? But use your smartphone to take a picture, sign up for it, and also engage you and open up all the other opportunities to working with Sage.
So I appreciate you signing up and attending this webinar. If anybody needs help from me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Dave Bergstein. But I'm here to help. I'm reached the point in my career where I'm encouraging people to become accountants, but become accountants and advisors. And there are tools out there to making money as an accountant pretty profitable if you're using the right tools and the right resources. So appreciate everyone that's come and paid attention. Chris, since Sage is providing the platform, any final comments?
I think the only final comments is the fact that I'm seeing 2025 as a really exciting year for the profession. 24 is all about realizing and catching up from the work and the demands of the previous couple of years. We're looking towards the future, and 25 is where we'll start to see the true opportunities of generative AI, but it's also the opportunities of a more connected platform. So it's almost a case of actually focusing on those little jobs to be done, think about those automation, why aren't you be as automated as possible, and start to think about the future and also how you could possibly work with Sage as well.
No, I thank you for those comments. I thank you for allowing me to participate.
Thank you.
The future of accounting is bright, and thank you all for attending.